Hey everybody, John Smith here. I wanted to do something a little different today because I was having a pretty good day after coming home from work when I saw this new awesome trailer for Smash Bros. Ultimate. Isabelle's going to be a new character. I'm super excited about that. But then I found this video by Kyle Kulinski, which sort of pissed me off. And I'm going to be just going through the video and just responding to it and kind of making my points clear of why Kyle's speech about not only Syria, but censorship is so patently wrong. So, hope you enjoy.
This is an important story that unfortunately you're not going to see anywhere in Western media, and it's heartbreaking. But YouTube decided to delete every single pro-Syrian channel at the same time this week.
So setting the stage here, the main point of contention is trying to discuss, well, is it moral for YouTube to pull down videos that are associated with or video channels that are associated with a state or a country, right? The channels that he's referring to here have to do with Bashar al-Assad's channel, in addition to other Ministry of Defense channels were taken down. So, well, let's see what Kyle Kulinski, the genius in foreign policy, has to say about this.
Now, why did they do it? Well, it happened to coincide with the battle for Idlib. So, right now, that is a jihadist stronghold. It's one of the few remaining rebel strongholds in Syria. And the government decided, we're going to take it back. We're going to make a push to take it back.
And knowing the Assad regime, and knowing that they're in Idlib, there are a lot of civilians that are in opposition not only to the rebels that you were talking about, but who are also in opposition to Assad. And if Assad is known for gassing and spewing chloride all over his people dozens and dozens of times in coordination with Russia, there is a reason to be concerned. There is a reason to maybe see what's going on.
Okay, that seems like a good idea. Well,
I mean, I just said, like, good idea in your mind just means, oh, we're just going to defeat the rebels and we're just going to have a heyday and, we're going to put on party hats with Russia and, sing Kumbaya and, hey, the Jewish New Year's it just happened Monday and Tuesday. We'll have a party, right? Right? Right, Kyle?
Apparently YouTube decided we can't have these Syrian channels talking about that because in the eyes of, billionaire CEO oligarchs, oh, that's propaganda in favor of the Syrian government and the butcher Assad. So
yeah, go ahead and use this time to blame corporatists or whatever huge boogeyman you like to create. Because I can guarantee you that the corporatists that you talk about, corporatists in quotes, right? People who are not gremlins like you, those people probably know a lot more about the world than you do, considering they have multinational businesses and they do business around the world. Jeff Bezos, for example, Tim Cook, pretty much any multinational corporation, anyone who owns a multinational corporation probably knows more about foreign policy than you do. But then again, I digress. I'll let you speak.
we have to get rid of that. And now the only narrative you hear is, Assad is evil and wrong and terrible and the bad guy, and he's trying to defeat wholesome rebels who are trying to free Syria. So now there's only one narrative, only one perspective, and I warned you from the beginning that what we're going to see is on these social media outlets, since we all said, oh yeah, censorship, great, wonderful, we're for that. Now what you did is you opened up the door, and you're going to have people like Jack on Twitter. You're going to have, Facebook. You're going to have...
So let me just stop him right there, because So before I get into another point, I can't stress how important it is to see how much he's playing a pity card right now, because he feels like he's on the forefront of trying to defend Assad, which he is, and it's pretty pathetic, to be quite honest. But he feels like he's part of this mega force that, oh, I hold the truth. Oh, I'm the bearer of wisdom here. And it's so mind-boggling to me that every single time a chemical attack happens, and every single time we find out, hey, the rebels in Syria aren't as influential as we once thought, and historically, Assad has had chemical weapons from the beginning, and there have been numerous international reports that have said Assad has had chemical weapons. The Assad regime has had chemical weapons. So I think Kyle's sort of in the wrong here, obviously. But, I mean, I can't make that clear enough, because what he does next is pretty silly when he tries to equate the banning of Syrian media from YouTube to Alex Jones. Let's hear him.
YouTube, all these outlets, we know what they've done in other countries, so they're probably going to start doing that here. What they did in other countries was they met with Israel, for example. Israel said, hey, these Palestinian rights groups, we don't like them. We want you to ban access to them in our country. And then Facebook complies. And you go down the list. Look at Saudi Arabia, China. Oh, we don't like this thing. We don't like that thing. Censor whatever we want you to censor. Well, now, here it comes to the U.S. We don't agree with the Syrian government. We've wanted regime change for a while. So what we're going to do is not allow them to put out their propaganda. And even though they're fighting Al-Qaeda, and that should probably be reported on right now because they're trying to take back Idlib, sorry, we're not even going to allow that narrative to get out there, and now we're going to ban those channels.
Yes, because for some reason, YouTube just banned these channels because they think Assad's scary. Well, funny story, Kyle. You trying to equate, I obviously have no love for Alex Jones, and I laugh really, really hard when he gets memed, and he's just made fun of relentlessly. I love that. But Alex Jones had his channel terminated for violating terms of service, but in a very iffy way, right? He accessed his live streaming from another channel, which then somehow banned him from which YouTube used in order to ban him from the site permanently. Now, in terms of the Syrian case, I actually decided not to be a reactionary like Kyle is and understand why YouTube would ban these channels. The original articles from Newsweek, I'm going to put it in the comments, or it is in the comments for you guys. And I'm just going to read this sort of quickly and try to point out the important parts here. So, so they talk about how, Al Jazeera reports that the Ministry of Defense and the presidency channels were taken down, right? And normal messages that pop up when YouTube channels are terminated, right? And this section right here, it says, YouTube complies with all applicable sanctions and trade compliance laws. Sanctions and trade compliance laws. including with respect to content created and uploaded by restricted entities. What is a restricted entity? Well, I think it was in March. I think it was either the UN or the U.S. We have sanctions against the Syrian regime right now, and this is the way it works for if we have we have sanctions against the Iranian regime, and a lot of those channels, Assad's channel and the Ministry of Defense channel, have a lot of footage pertaining to war violence, and it's so important to understand that YouTube is obligated to comply with those sanctions, because YouTube does not want to be liable for potentially putting ad money towards the Assad regime. They don't want to be liable for that. They don't want to be liable for terror caused by a totalitarian regime. So they say, well, we sort of comply with these sanctions, and this is only temporary, obviously. I wouldn't consider YouTube as YouTube's management to be hawkish on foreign policy, but they have enough decency to understand that they do not want to funnel ads, revenue from ads, towards a regime that could potentially kill thousands of people. So, I think the difference is quite stark between the Alex Jones case and the Syrian government case in terms of their channels being suspended. And it's so funny trying to see Kyle sort of equivocate the two. So let's go ahead and just watch the rest of this piece of garbage.
So the channels belonging to the Syrian presidency, the country's Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
General Joseph Dunford warned that the Pentagon is preparing and keeping Donald Trump informed about potential military options for retaliation if chemical weapons are used in Syria.
Yes, because beforehand, the Syrian government, or probably the Syrian government, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm 99% sure it was the Syrian government based on numerous reports. Last time we weren't there to catch when that sarin attack / chlorine gas attack happened. And I think it's good that we at least have some initiative on this, because before we didn't. And that's good that we have more attention to it now.
And what's interesting is that beforehand, Syria warned, hey, we think they're staging a chemical attack. We're not doing it. We think that Al-Qaeda is staging a chemical attack. And then that's the attempt for Al-Qaeda to lure in the West in order to fight on their side.
Hey guys, Assad said that they didn't do nothing, and they're just here trying to stop the real bad guys. Al-Qaeda, yeah, they didn't do nothing. They're the good guys. Kyle, I would encourage you to look at the reports and the history of the Syrian, what's been happening in that area for the past 2 to 3 years. I wasn't quite up to speed on that, and there are some things I quite don't understand, but I think it's sort of childish to say, Assad is the good guy here, and Al-Qaeda is the bad guy. I mean, obviously, to anyone who's serious about foreign policy, of course we want to stamp out terrorism, but we don't want to trust a totalitarian regime who has had known resistance from its own people for many years to take out terrorism, right? And not even also, Russia has a stronghold in that area, and I mean, why do you think they would say that? Why do you think Syria would go out and say, "Hey, we're gonna take care of this, and you don't have to worry because we're the good guys"? They don't want us there. Syria and Russia and Iran do not want us at Idlib. They do not want us there because they are scared of us.
So, and we already know that we've been de facto aligned with jihadist groups in Syria. That's a known fact. Same with Saudi Arabia, de facto aligned with jihadists in Syria.
Yeah, okay. Same
they're going to try to
points.
make it seem like the Syrian government is using chemical weapons. Why would they use chemical weapons when they know that that's the one thing that would draw in the West?
Because Russia wants that part of Syria. Russia wants to expand. Russia's been thinking about expanding for many, many years now. Russia relies on its military. Syria is in de facto Russia's puppet. So that means that, but okay, let's not even go there, right? Let's just assume that there are no harmful intentions from the Russians and from the Syrians, right? Why is it that all the airstrikes that have, quote unquote, tried to stop terrorists that are come from the Syrian regime and from Russia, why have they killed only civilians? Answer me that. Why is that, Kyle? You should be able to answer that. You keep saying that Al-Qaeda is doing all this. What about the airstrikes from the various regimes? Do you have an answer for that? Probably not.
That's the last thing they want us to draw in the West, but they're going to do the one thing that would draw in the West.
I already refuted this.
You draw in the West on their side, and
get
involved there, like he did on the Russia and the U.S. That's scary because Russia's like, hey, listen, man, we're going to be involved in there. We're going to try to help them take back, Idlib from the jihadist stronghold. We're warning you, don't get involved. So Russia's telling the U.S., don't do it. And Trump, being Trump, just because somebody says he shouldn't do it, he might do it.
That's probably the only accurate thing about this video. Trump being hawkish in this situation and being standoffish with Syria and Russia is sort of interesting, but knowing how Trump sort of reacts, he kind of does the opposite of what some of our adversaries want. It sort of depends on the situation, but that's the only thing that's even remotely correct. But that's not even correct because Pompeo has been attentive to the situation. And he has said numerous times that he doesn't want any violence in Idlib. He's sort of seeking a peaceful solution, which I don't know, honestly, is going to work out. But again, Pompeo is a lot more attentive and a lot more wary of the Russians and the Syrians being involved in Idlib because they understand how much life is at stake. They understand how much the history of the Assad regime. Obviously, much more than you. And so Russia saying to us, get out, and we shouldn't be there, this is a scare tactic on their part. If the fact that you don't understand that Russia at least wants to expand its territory because the only thing that they rely on in their arsenal, in literally their entire country's infrastructure, is their military. If you don't understand that by now, I think you're pretty long gone when it comes to this topic and, honestly, many other topics too. But, again, I digress.
So this is scary. Again, Syria is, a proxy war, if you will, between the U.S. and Russia. And it can go bad in a number of ways. So, but this is what you get for social media censorship being welcomed with open arms. Yay, we got rid of Alex Jones. Oh, shit, we also got rid of all dissenting voices that give an important alternative perspective.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that though, because while YouTube is a pretty prominent platform and all, they Bashar al-Assad and the Ministry of Defense in Syria, I believe, have their own websites, and they could still put up their own media players, and they're a prominent state-sponsored entity. They can use other media services on their website to garner views if they really wanted to. But YouTube, I sort of disagree with the notion that we have to ban content, but because I'm totally for free speech, obviously, but the idea that you're going to say that this is like any other banning of other types of content is really, really something else. And it really goes to show you how far Kyle Kulinski will go to shill not only for the Syrian regime, but how far he's going to go in order to basically make America look like the bad guy. Now, I'm not going to defend every action we've made, but to always go out of his way to make America look like the bad guy is pretty despicable. And he should be ashamed of himself. Well, anyway, I'm going to have more Kyle Kulinski content in the future, but this is John Smith, and I hope to see you in the next video, I guess.